baby's screams cut through the silence of the grand house like a fire alarm. For 3 hours straight, that terrible sound had echoed down the marble corridors and up the wooden staircase. Lauren Norris scrubbed the same spot on the floor for the 5th time. At 24 years old, her hands were rough from hard work, and she felt a tight knot forming in her chest that got worse every minute. That crying was touching something deep inside her soul. "This little boy is going to make himself sick from all this screaming," she whispered, trying to concentrate on her cleaning. Up in the baby's room, Michael lay in his crib. The 2-month-old infant had a face that was puffy and red from endless tears. His tiny lips were cracked and dry. His mouth kept making weak sucking movements, searching for something that wasn't there. The baby bottle, sitting on the nearby table, gave off a sour smell. It had gone bad in the afternoon heat. Adrienne Silva, the 28-year-old babysitter hired through an expensive service, had vanished hours earlier. She claimed she was heading to the drugstore to buy special formula, but actually drove to the shopping center to hang out with her friends. For her, this job was nothing more than easy money with little work required. Down in his home office, Gabriel Ferris sat locked away from the world. At 32 years old, he had dark rings under his eyes that even the finest coffee couldn't hide. The video call with his Japanese business partners had dragged on for 2 hours, and he pretended not to hear his son's desperate cries. "Mr. Ferris, do you agree to the investment?" A voice asked from his computer screen. "Absolutely. You have my word," Gabriel replied automatically, his eyes fixed on Helen's photograph sitting on his desk. Michael's screaming grew weaker and more frightening. Lauren couldn't stand it any longer. She threw down her cleaning cloth and rushed upstairs, her heart pounding hard. "Please don't let anything be wrong," she prayed as she climbed the steps. When she pushed open the nursery door, she gasped in shock. Michael was nearly unconscious in his crib, his skin burning hot, his eyes barely open. He continued making tiny sucking motions with his mouth, desperately searching for food. "Oh no!" Lauren ran to him and picked him up carefully. He was burning with fever, soaked in sweat, clearly suffering from dehydration. "Shoo! Sweet baby, I'm here now," she comforted him. She sniffed the bottle and made a disgusted face, completely spoiled. Michael kept making sucking movements in her arms, starving for nourishment. That's when something inside Lauren's heart cracked open. She had lost her own baby 6 weeks earlier and was still producing breast milk. Seeing Michael in this condition, going through what her own child had experienced in his final moments, was more than she could bear. Without hesitation, she sat down in the rocking chair and offered her breast to the hungry infant. Michael immediately stopped crying. He fed with the intensity of someone who had been starving and finally found rescue. "There you go. That's much better," Lauren whispered softly, feeling a calm she hadn't experienced in weeks. Downstairs, Gabriel finally finished his meeting. "Everyone, let's wrap this up tomorrow, all right?" He hung up the phone and suddenly noticed the quiet. The crying had stopped. Concerned, he went upstairs to check on Michael. He carefully opened the door and froze in place. Lauren sat in a rocking chair by the window, feeding Michael as naturally as if it were the most normal thing in the world. Gentle evening light streamed through the curtains. The two of them looked completely peaceful. Gabriel stood there, unable to process what his eyes were seeing. What on earth is happening here? Lauren nearly jumped out of the chair. She quickly covered herself, holding Michael protectively, her eyes wide with fear. "Sir, I'm so sorry. Let me explain everything." Gabriel stepped closer, confused and angry. "Explain what? Have you completely lost your mind?" "He was in serious trouble," Lauren said rapidly, her words rushing together. "He'd been screaming for hours. The babysitter disappeared. The bottle had gone sour. That doesn't give you the right to—" Gabriel stopped speaking mid-sentence. He looked down at his son and saw something he hadn't witnessed in weeks. Michael was sleeping peacefully, breathing steadily, with a calm expression on his tiny face. Gabriel had never seen his son like this before. Since birth, Michael had been restless, cranky, and difficult to comfort. Now, he was sleeping like an angel. How was he so relaxed? Lauren wiped her eyes with the back of her hand. He was starving, sir. The bottle smelled terrible. It had curdled completely. There was nothing else I could give him. Gabriel moved closer, studying his son carefully. It was the first time Michael had truly looked rested since he was born. But how were you able to? He couldn't finish his question. The silence became heavy between them. Lauren looked down, her voice barely audible. I lost my baby 6 weeks ago. Gabriel felt like someone had punched him in the stomach. He knew that pain intimately. It was the same agony he had carried every single day since Helen died. I still have milk, but no baby to feed. Lauren's tears began to fall. When I saw Michael suffering like that, I couldn't just stand there and watch. Gabriel watched Michael sleep peacefully in her arms. The baby seemed to have found something that even Gabriel couldn't provide for his own child. The anger inside him mixed with strange gratitude. She had saved Michael, but the situation was complicated beyond belief. Go home, Lauren, he said, exhausted. We'll discuss this properly tomorrow. Lauren carefully handed Michael to him, as if passing over something precious. Just don't let him go that long without eating again, please. She left the room shaking, knowing she had done something that could get her in serious trouble. But when she looked back and saw Gabriel holding his son, finally sleeping in peace, she felt no regret. Gabriel stayed in the nursery, watching Michael sleep in his arms. For a few precious minutes, the pain of losing Helen felt lighter. What am I supposed to do now? He wondered aloud. That night, Adrienne finally returned to the mansion, carrying expensive shopping bags. Her story about special formula had been a complete lie from the beginning. She had spent the day wasting her paycheck on clothes and then went to a movie with her boyfriend. For Adrienne, taking care of Michael was just a well-paying job. She felt no love for the baby. She only saw him as her ticket to living in a wealthy man's house without much effort. She found Gabriel in his office, working on his computer. Michael was asleep in the crib, something she hadn't seen in a very long time. Wow, what a miracle. He finally stopped crying. Gabriel looked up, still trying to understand the afternoon's events. Lauren took care of him today. Oh, that's nice, Adrienne replied casually. But something in Gabriel's tone made her suspicious. In the middle of the night, Michael woke up only once, drank his bottle without any fuss, and went back to sleep quickly. For Adrienne, who was used to terrible nights, this was practically a miracle. The next morning, while Gabriel took a shower, she went to the kitchen to fish for information from Mrs. Celia Barnes. Celia, did Lauren do something different yesterday? Mrs. Barnes, 55 years old with a heart as big as the ocean, suspected nothing unusual. Poor thing was really upset yesterday. Spent a long time up in the nursery. Upset? Why would she be upset? Come on, dear. The poor girl lost her baby not long ago, and her husband left her because of it. A sharp stab of jealousy hit Adrienne. If Gabriel liked Lauren, she could lose the easiest job she'd ever had. He abandoned her? Said she was weak, that she didn't take proper care of her pregnancy, right? Cruel, isn't it? The girl was already suffering enough. Wheels began spinning in Adrienne's mind. She saw an opportunity to eliminate her competition. Celia, can I tell you something, but promise you won't repeat it? Of course, honey. Adrienne leaned in, pretending to be concerned. Yesterday, I saw Lauren doing something kind of strange. What do you mean? She was feeding Michael from her own breast. Mrs. Barnes's eyes went wide with shock. What are you saying? From her own breast. I saw it with my own eyes. She still has milk, you know, and she's acting like she's his mother. She spent hours just staring at him while he slept. Mrs. Barnes felt torn. Maybe she just wanted to help the baby. Celia, a woman who loses a child can, become obsessed with other people's babies. Adrienne planted the first seed of doubt and quickly left to spread more gossip. She called Marcia Bittner, the biggest gossip in the entire neighborhood. Marcia, I need to tell you something about Gabriel. Hi, dear. What's going on? That housekeeper of his, I think she's trying to take advantage of him. How so? She lost a baby and now she's obsessed with Michael. I caught her feeding him from her own breast. Marcia nearly dropped the phone. You're joking. It's absolutely true. I think she's trying to seduce Gabriel so she can attach herself to his family. How shameless. Poor Gabriel. It's not enough that he lost Helen. Exactly. Someone needs to warn him before the situation gets out of hand. Leave it to me. I'll talk to the other ladies. That opportunist won't get away with this. When Gabriel came downstairs for breakfast, he found Michael smiling. It was the first time he had ever seen his son like this, kicking his legs and making happy sounds whenever Lauren walked past in the hallway. Gabriel was deeply moved. He really likes her. But soon the phone would start ringing, and Lauren's life would turn into a nightmare. Gabriel watched Michael in his high chair. The baby was a completely different child, smiling, waving his hands, cooing happily every time Lauren appeared. "Good morning, sir," she said shyly. "Good morning. Michael looks wonderful today." "Yes." He slept all through the night. He just needed a good feeding. Gabriel watched how his son reacted to Lauren's voice and felt touched. It was the first time Michael had shown genuine happiness. Then, the phone rang later that morning. "Hello, Gabriel, dear. How are you holding up?" It was Marcia Bittner's sweet voice. "I'm fine, Marcia. What's going on?" "We're all worried about you. People have been talking." A knot formed in Gabriel's chest. Talking about what? About an employee who's getting, shall we say, too involved. Gabriel, a woman who loses a child is very fragile. She can become obsessed with other children. Gabriel looked down the hallway at Lauren and felt a stab of doubt. Obsessed? Helen must be suffering in heaven, seeing this happen in her home. He hung up the phone, irritated, but the seed of doubt had been planted. An hour later, another call came in. Mrs. Carmen, Helen's mother. "Gabriel, son, you need to take care of yourself." "Mrs. Carmen, are you all right?" "I am, but I'm worried about you. I heard there's a maid causing problems in your house." "Problems?" "Gabriel, you're very vulnerable right now. It's easy for an opportunist to take advantage of you. Where did you hear this?" "Everyone's talking, son. You need to act before it becomes a scandal." The third call came in the mid-afternoon. Teresa, Helen's best friend. "Gabriel, this cannot continue." "What cannot continue?" "The situation with the maid. Helen would be horrified." The pressure was mounting. Gabriel watched Lauren playing with Michael, who was clearly happier, but he's doing so well with her. At that moment, Adrian appeared beside him. "Sir, Lauren asked to stay late today." "Why?" She said, "Michael needs her to sleep well." Adrian paused for dramatic effect. "I thought it was a little strange." "Strange how?" "She's not his mother, right? But sometimes she acts like she is." Gabriel felt torn. On one hand, Michael had never been better. On the other hand, everyone was telling him he was being deceived. He remembered how he had lost Helen. He had trusted everyone completely, never suspected anything, and still she died due to medical mistakes at the hospital. Am I being naive again? The phone rang once more. It was Marcia. "Gabriel, have you thought about what we discussed?" "Marcia, Son, you can't let this continue for Michael's sake." Gabriel looked at Lauren, humming softly as she organized the baby's things. Michael smiled every time he heard her voice, but the pressure was becoming unbearable. "Fine, Marcia. I'll handle it." When he hung up the phone, Gabriel knew what he had to do. Even if it hurt, even if it erased a smile from Michael's face, he would have to fire Lauren. Gabriel didn't sleep at all that night. The neighbor's words played in his head like a broken record. Early in the morning, the phone had already rung 3 times. "Gabriel, have you decided what you're going to do?" Marcia asked in a tone that suggested she already knew the answer. "Don't let this become a scandal," advised Mrs. Carmen. "For Helen's memory, you need to act," concluded Teresa. When Gabriel came downstairs for breakfast, his heart nearly stopped. Lauren was on the living room floor, playing peekaboo with Michael. The baby was giggling, a sound Gabriel hadn't heard in a very long time. "Peekaboo!" Lauren tickled Michael's belly, and he squealed with pure delight. Gabriel watched from the doorway. His son had never seemed so joyful. Never laughed like this. Never had such a pure expression of happiness. "Good morning, sir," Lauren greeted him. Picking Michael up, "Good morning," Gabriel replied, but his voice sounded strange. He spent the entire breakfast watching them. Michael wouldn't let go of Lauren. Every time she stepped away, he became fussy. When she returned, he smiled and reached out his arms. "He's attached to you," Gabriel said, trying to sound casual. "Yeah, he's a little clingy," Lauren answered, kissing Michael's forehead. A sharp pain hit Gabriel. He had never managed to make his son smile like that. Then the phone rang again and again and again. Each call left Gabriel more tense and more confused. People he respected, people he did business with, people who had known Helen, they were all saying the same thing. Around noon, Gabriel made a decision that would hurt him deeply too. "Lauren, I need to talk to you in my office." His tone had changed completely. Cold, distant, formal. Lauren knew instantly that something was terribly wrong. In the office, Gabriel stayed behind his desk as if it were a protective barrier. Lauren sat on the edge of the chair, her heart racing. "Sir, did I do something wrong?" Gabriel couldn't look her in the eye. "Lauren, about yesterday, what happened with Michael? If I made a mistake, please forgive me. I just wanted to help. It's not about right or wrong." He ran his hand through his hair. "People are talking." "Talking about what?" Gabriel took a deep breath. Each word felt like swallowing broken glass. "That you're taking advantage of me. That you lost your baby and are trying to steal mine." The color drained completely from Lauren's face. "Sir, that's not true. I would never do that. You fed him from your breast, Lauren, without asking permission, without thinking about what people would say. He was in serious trouble. There was nobody else to help him." Gabriel stood up and began pacing. He was fighting against himself, but the pressure was too overwhelming. "People think you're trying to seduce me so you can steal my family. That's a lie. You know it's a lie." "I know." Gabriel finally looked at her. "You lost your baby 6 weeks ago. Suddenly you're here, acting like Michael's mother. I work here. I do my job and you spend hours watching him sleep, singing to him, playing with him as if he were your own son." Lauren stood up, desperate. "Because he likes me. Because he's happy when I'm around. That's the problem, Lauren. He's getting too attached to you." Gabriel stopped pacing. The truth was that it wasn't a problem at all, but he couldn't admit that. "You're fired." The silence that followed was so heavy it seemed to suck all the air from the room. "Sir, please don't do this. It's already decided, and don't expect a reference letter from me. I'm begging you. I have nowhere to go." Gabriel turned his back on her. He couldn't look into Lauren's desperate eyes. "Gather your things and leave. At least let me say goodbye to Michael. It's better if you just go." Lauren stumbled out of the office. In the kitchen, Mrs. Barnes found her crying as she collected her few belongings. "Honey, what happened?" "He fired me. He said I'm taking advantage." "That's absolutely ridiculous. You saved that baby." "It doesn't matter now. I have to leave." Outside, heavy rain began to fall, the kind that soaks you in seconds. Lauren looked out the window at the storm, but she had no choice. Gabriel watched her his office window as she walked slowly away in the rain, carrying a plastic bag, her clothes sticking to her soaked body. For a moment, he almost ran after her. The image of Lauren alone in the downpour was tearing his heart apart, but then the phone rang. "Gabriel, I heard you did the right thing. It's best for Michael," Marcia said. Gabriel hung up and watched Lauren turn the corner, disappearing into the rain. Upstairs, Michael began to cry. The first door Lauren knocked on belonged to her neighbors. The maid wouldn't even let her finish explaining. "No job openings here." At the second house, the owner at least listened to her. "I have experience with cleaning, cooking, and childcare. Do you have a reference letter?" "I do, from my last job." The woman called Gabriel right in front of Lauren. "Hello, Mr. Ferris. It's about a Lauren who worked for you." Gabriel saw the phone ringing and chose not to answer it. "Sorry, dear. He didn't pick up. Without a reference, I can't take the risk." At the third, fourth, and fifth houses, the story repeated itself. Always the same question. "Do you have a reference from your last employer?" At the end of the first day, Lauren still had hope. On the second day, desperation began to set in. On the third day, her money was completely gone. "Mrs. Mary, give me one more week. I promise I can pay you." The landlady shook her head. "Lauren, you already owe 2 months' rent. The owner is pressuring me. Just a few more days, please." "I can't, honey. It's business. You understand, right?" Lauren left the tiny rental room with a single grocery bag. Everything she owned in the world fit inside it. The first night on the street was a terror she had never imagined. She slept on a park bench, using old newspapers as blankets. The cold cut right through to her bones, and she didn't close her eyes once out of fear. On the second night, 3 men approached her as she tried to sleep under a store awning. "Hey there, sweetheart. All alone? Want some company? We can help you out." Lauren ran and hid behind a church until sunrise. On the third night, she met Mr. John, a 60-year-old man with white hair who had been living on the streets for 10 years. "First time out here, right?" "How can you tell?" "Experience. You still look like someone who came from a real home." Mr. John pointed toward an overpass. "Come on, stay with our group. It's much safer." Under the Highway 10 overpass near downtown, 5 people huddled together, each with a piece of cardboard, a few belongings, and a heartbreaking story. "Folks, this is Lauren. She needs some help." "Welcome to our group," said Rose, a woman who lost her house when her son became addicted to drugs and sold everything they owned. Mr. John taught Lauren the rules of survival, where to find food, which security guards wouldn't bother them, and how to stay safe. "The important thing is not to lose your dignity, child. We're living on the street, but we're still human beings." Days passed, and Lauren changed dramatically. Her clothes became dirty and torn. Her hair became matted and tangled. She lost weight rapidly because finding food was a daily struggle. Worst of all, her body still produced milk. Every morning she woke up with painful, swollen breasts, a constant reminder that she had food for a baby who wasn't with her. "Michael, are you okay? Are you eating enough?" During the day, while she collected cans to sell for money, she thought about him constantly. Does he still smile? Does he play? Does he look for me? "My little one, I haven't forgotten about you." After 2 weeks, Lauren caught a reflection in a store window and didn't recognize the skinny, dirty woman with deep circles under her eyes. Some days she talked to herself, reliving the game she used to play with Michael. The dignity that Mr. John had spoken about became harder and harder to maintain. The mansion became a war zone. Michael started crying nonstop the moment Lauren left the house. That first night without her, Gabriel didn't sleep for even a minute. Michael cried almost all night long, only stopping near dawn from complete exhaustion. "What's wrong, son?" "Daddy's here." Gabriel tried to comfort him, but Michael rejected his arms. The baby refused his bottle, wouldn't play with toys, and stayed constantly agitated. When he finally fell asleep, he woke up minutes later, screaming. Adrian pretended to try helping. "Must be just a phase, sir. Babies do that sometimes." But Gabriel could see that she wasn't really worried. In fact, she seemed relieved. After 3 sleepless nights, Gabriel hired an emergency babysitter. Sonia arrived full of confidence. "Leave it to me, Mr. Ferris. I have 20 years of experience caring for babies." 2 hours later, she was completely exhausted. "My God, I've never seen a child so upset." Michael rejected her arms, rejected the bottle, rejected everything she offered, cried with an intensity that hurt your ears. Gabriel hired a second babysitter. Carla, a newborn specialist, tried a different approach. "Mr. Ferris, this child is experiencing some kind of trauma." "Trauma?" Babies form powerful emotional attachments. When they lose those attachments, they suffer. But what attachment? His mother died during childbirth. Any person he saw every day, someone consistent in his life. Gabriel almost mentioned Lauren, but swallowed the words. Nobody special. The third babysitter was Martha, the most experienced and expensive in the city. "Sir, in 25 years of doing this, I've never seen a case like this." Michael was visibly losing weight. He barely drank anything, slept very little, and was constantly irritable. Gabriel was desperate. The pediatrician, Dr. Sanders, examined Michael and became very concerned. Mr. Ferris, physically he appears fine, but something is deeply disturbing this child. Doctor, he won't stop crying. Babies express emotional trauma exactly like this. He's rejecting care and rejecting new bonds. What can I do? Have there been any drastic changes in his routine recently? Gabriel hesitated. We changed babysitters, and we fired an employee who sometimes helped care for him. Dr. Sanders made a note. Did this employee have a lot of contact with the child? She did. Even a small change, Mr. Ferris, can affect babies deeply. They're very sensitive. If this person formed a strong bond with your son, doctor, what matters most is making him well. But inside, a terrible doubt was growing. Nights became a complete nightmare. Gabriel wandered through the house like a zombie, trying to soothe Michael, who cried without end. Mrs. Barnes tried to help, but Gabriel wouldn't listen. Mr. Ferris, ever since Lauren left, I don't want to hear it. But sir, the boy changed completely. Celia, stay out of this. After another week of hell, Dr. Sanders was brutally honest. Mr. Ferris, I'm going to have to admit your child to the hospital. Admit him? He's becoming dehydrated and losing weight dangerously. He needs hospital care. Gabriel looked at Michael, thin and exhausted in his arms, and felt a fear he hadn't experienced since Helen died. Doctor, could he die? We'll do everything possible, but children can fade away for emotional reasons too. When Gabriel returned home after admitting Michael to the hospital, the mansion was strangely quiet. For the first time in weeks, there was no baby crying echoing through the hallways. In that silence, he finally admitted to himself that he may have made the biggest mistake of his life. Gabriel could barely focus on work with Michael hospitalized. He visited 3 times a day, but Michael remained listless, rejecting his bottle and losing more weight. Mr. Ferris, the child needs a strong emotional stimulus, Dr. Sanders said, something that rekindles his interest in living. Gabriel left the hospital and headed home, desperate for a solution. On the sidewalk, he found a neighbor waiting for him. Gabriel, I'm glad I caught you. It's Mrs. Martinez from 3 houses down, a woman Gabriel respected. Hi, Mrs. Martinez. I need to tell you something about that young woman who used to work for you. Gabriel tensed up. Lauren? Yes. I saw her yesterday downtown. Where? Near the bus terminal. She was, how do I put this delicately? She was begging. The world seemed to tilt around him. Begging. She looked very thin and dirty. I almost didn't recognize her. So sad. Gabriel walked inside, stunned. Lauren, who had saved Michael, was living on the street because of him. In that state of mind, he went upstairs to Michael's room to get a few things. In the backyard, he heard voices. This one's expensive, imported, worth about $100. Gabriel moved to the window and froze. Adrian was selling Michael's medications to a strange man. He rushed downstairs and out to the yard. Adrian, what in God's name are you doing? She nearly dropped the box of medicine. Oh, sir, you startled me. You're selling Michael's medication? The buyer, not realizing Gabriel was a father, confirmed it. She always sells expensive baby medicines. I resell them to a pharmacy. Gabriel exploded with anger. How long have you been doing this? Sir, I can explain. My mother is sick and... Where were you when Michael was crying alone? I was taking care of him. Liar, you disappeared and left him alone. Cornered. Adrian tried to shift the blame. If that cleaning girl hadn't interfered. Interfered how? Adrian realized she had said too much, but Gabriel wouldn't let it go. Say it. How did she interfere? She blurted out. I made up everything about her taking advantage of you. Adrian crumbled under pressure. I lied about her. Gabriel was silent for a long moment. You lied. I was jealous. She took better care of Michael than I did. Adrian, he stepped closer, his voice dangerously low. Did Lauren ever do anything wrong to Michael? No. She saved him that day. He was very sick with a high fever. He could have died. Could have died. If she hadn't helped, he would have. Gabriel felt like he'd been hit by a truck. And you invented the story that she was taking advantage? I was afraid of losing my job. She was a better babysitter than me. Get out of my house. Sir, out. Now. Alone in the yard. The truth weighed on Gabriel's chest like a boulder. She lost her own child and still saved mine, he thought, staring at his hands. And I threw her out like garbage. He called Mrs. Barnes. Celia, do you know where Laura might be? Mr. Ferris, I tried all her contacts. Nobody knows where she is. What about family? She has nobody. Her parents died. No siblings. That awful ex-husband, he's the one who put her on the street. Gabriel hung up the phone. Laura was lost somewhere in a metropolitan area of nearly 13 million people. At the hospital, Dr. Sanders grew more concerned. Mr. Ferris, the child isn't responding to treatment. Physically, there's nothing wrong, but he's failing to thrive. Doctor, is there something specific that could help him? I'll be direct. Children can die of grief. He needs something to spark his will to live. Gabriel knew exactly what that something was. He had always known. Doctor, if I brought a specific person, someone the child has a strong bond with, would that help? Absolutely. Gabriel left the hospital with a mission. Find Lauren before it was too late. But where to start looking in such a massive place? He began with the obvious places. He went to her old address. The building was being torn down. Sir, the girl who lived here disappeared about 3 weeks ago, the doorman said. Left with a plastic bag and never came back. Gabriel visited temp agencies, public hospitals, and police stations. Nothing. On day 2, he expanded his search to shelters, soup kitchens, and churches. A young woman, brown hair, recently lost her job. Son, too many people come through here, a volunteer said. Do you have a photograph? Gabriel realized he didn't have one. She had worked his home for months, and he had never taken a single picture. On the 3rd day, desperate, he went to places where homeless people gathered. Please, do you know a woman named Lauren? The reaction was always suspicion. Who wants to know? Are you a cop? Is she running from someone? He changed his approach on day 4. He was exhausted. 3 nights with little sleep, barely eating, his beard growing out. An unexpected call came in. Gabriel, it's Sylvia from the building on the corner. Hi, Sylvia. Weren't you looking for a former employee? A young woman. Gabriel's heart raced. Yes. A girl was here yesterday, knocking on doors. Thin, kind of dirty, asking for work. Where? What time? Around 2 p.m. But Gabriel, she looked bad. Bad how? Like she was sick or confused. He wrote down the address and drove there immediately. He searched the area for 2 hours. Nothing. Frustration consumed him. At the hospital, Michael got worse each day. Dr. Sanders was direct. If there's no improvement in the next 48 hours, we'll have to take drastic measures. Tube feeding, transfer to intensive care. It's the last option. Gabriel left knowing that time was running out. A week had passed since he started searching for Lauren. He even hired a private investigator. Mr. Ferris, finding a person living on the street is very difficult, the detective explained. They move constantly. Is there anything we can do? I'll spread her photo through shelters, clinics, and churches. If someone sees her, they'll call. Gabriel used a still image of Lauren from a security camera in the mansion. Meanwhile, Michael continued declining in the hospital. In a week, he had lost more weight and barely reacted to anything. Gabriel split his time between hospital visits and combing the streets. He was becoming a ghost himself, thin, hollow-eyed, obsessed. Mrs. Barnes called, worried. Mr. Ferris, you need to eat and rest. I can't stop, Celia. Michael is dying. Sir, what if Lauren doesn't want to come back after everything she went through? Gabriel paused to consider that possibility for the first time. What if she hated him? What if she wanted nothing to do with Michael? She will, he said, trying to convince himself. She loves that boy. On the 8th day, the detective called. Mr. Ferris, I have something. A social worker downtown recognized the photo, where, at a public health clinic, a young woman with signs of pneumonia, when, 3 days ago, but the description didn't fully match. The girl looked very different from the photo. Gabriel rushed to the clinic. Doctor, did you see a patient named Lauren in the last few days? The physician checked his records. We had a patient without identification. Early pneumonia. How was she? Very weak, severe malnutrition. We gave her antibiotics and instructions, but she left. Where did she go? We don't know. She said she had nowhere to stay. Gabriel left with solid lead and greater worry. Lauren was sick. He spent the next 2 days combing central neighborhoods, asking at pharmacies, bakeries, anywhere she might have passed through. On day 10, when hope was fading, a call changed everything. Hello, are you the Gabriel looking for Lauren? I am. Who is this? John, from the folks under the bridge. I heard you were looking for her. Gabriel's heart pounded. Do you know where she is? Maybe. First, I need to know why you're looking for her. Because I made the biggest mistake of my life and need to make it right. What kind of mistake? Gabriel took a deep breath. I believed a lie and threw her onto the street. Now the baby she saved is dying in the hospital. Silence on the line. John, are you still there? I am, son. You did a terrible thing. I know. That's why I have to find her. She's in really bad shape. Where is she? Under the overpass off the freeway near downtown. But if you hurt her again, I won't forgive you. I promise I won't. Under the overpass, makeshift tents and old mattresses were clustered around a small fire. A white-haired man stepped forward. You Gabriel? I am. Where is she? John pointed to a tent in the corner. She's had a high fever for 2 days. Gabriel crawled inside the tent and found Lauren on a thin mattress, wrapped in dirty blankets. She was completely unrecognizable, matted hair, face burned by fever, so thin she looked like a different person entirely. Lauren. Her eyes opened slowly, unfocused. It took time for her to recognize him. Gabriel? You're here. Her voice was just a whisper. I came for you. Michael needs you. Michael? Her eyes filled with tears. How is he? Very sick. He's been in the hospital for 2 weeks. Lauren tried to sit up, but she had no strength left. Is he ill? Yes. The doctors say it's depression. He won't eat, won't sleep, just cries constantly. Why are you telling me this? Gabriel knelt beside her. Because I found out that Adrian lied about everything. Lied. She made it all up because she was jealous. Lauren closed her eyes. And you believe her? I did, and I nearly killed my son because of it. Gabriel. She tried to speak, but started coughing violently. John stepped into the tent. Son, she's got pneumonia. She needs a hospital. Lauren, we're in a hospital. You and Michael both need medical care. No. She shook her head weakly. I can't go through that again. Please. Michael could die if you don't help him. And you'll throw me out again when people start complaining. Gabriel met her eyes directly. Never again. I promise you. Promises. She coughed. You made promises before. If you don't come with me, you could die here, and Michael could die in the hospital. John added, Girl, you need treatment. You can't stay like this. Lauren was too weak to resist anymore. Okay, but only for Michael. Gabriel lifted her carefully and carried her to his car. In the back seat, she whispered, Gabriel, I'm not going back for you. Only for the boy. I know. That's all that matters. On the way to the hospital, he called Dr. Sanders. Doctor, I'm bringing someone who can help Michael, but she's sick too. Bring her straight to the emergency room. At the hospital, a medical team examined Lauren immediately. Bacterial pneumonia, severe malnutrition, dehydration, Dr. Sanders announced. We're admitting her right away. Doctor, can she see Michael? After we control the infection. We can't expose the child yet. Lauren spent 3 days on antibiotics and 4 fluids. Gabriel divided his time between her room and Michael's. On the 3rd day, When Lauren's fever finally broke, Dr. Sanders allowed a brief visit. 15 minutes maximum. Gabriel wheeled her into Michael's room. When she saw the pale, thin baby in the hospital crib, she began to cry. My God, what happened to him? Michael was sleeping, but when he heard Lauren's voice, he opened his eyes slowly. For a moment, he looked confused. Then he recognized her. For the first time in weeks, he managed a faint smile. Hi, sweetheart, Lauren whispered, reaching out to touch his tiny hand. Michael made a soft, happy sound, the first in a very long time. Can I try give him a bottle? She asked. Dr. Sanders hesitated. You can try, but very gently. Lauren lifted Michael from the crib. He was lighter than she remembered, more fragile. When she offered him the bottle, he looked at her first, as if to make sure she was really there, then began to drink slowly. My boy, take your time. Michael sipped the formula, stopping now and then to study her face. Gabriel watched from the doorway, his eyes wet with tears. He was waiting for you. He's so thin, Lauren said, worried. Dr. Sanders noted everything carefully. If you both continue like this, I'll discharge you tomorrow. After the doctor left, Gabriel stepped closer. Lauren, I know I don't deserve it, but I have to ask for your forgiveness. Not now, Gabriel. I need to say this. You saved my son twice. I did for Michael, not for you. I know, but I want you to know that I learned my lesson. Lauren didn't answer. She kept humming softly to Michael. Lauren, what? Will you come home with us? I will, but only for him. She met Gabriel's eyes. And don't expect me to trust you again. I don't expect that. I just want a chance to prove that I've changed. Listen carefully, Lauren said, stopping her lullaby. If you humiliate me again, if you throw me out one more time, I'll disappear with that boy and you'll never see us again. Gabriel swallowed hard. Understood. I'll take care of Michael, but you'll have to earn my trust again from zero. All right. Lauren resumed humming. Michael slept peacefully in her arms for the first time in weeks. Gabriel sat beside them and watched, knowing there was a lot of hard work ahead. Winning back Lauren's trust wouldn't be easy, but Michael was alive, and that was the beginning. After a week in the hospital, Gabriel brought Lauren and Michael home. The mansion felt different, emptier, strangely quiet. Mrs. Barnes appeared at the front door, emotional. Girl, I'm so glad you're back. How are you feeling? Better, Celia. Slowly but surely getting better. And little Michael? Eating well, putting weight back on. Gabriel carried Lauren's bags and stopped by the small back room where she had stayed before. Lauren, I prepared the guest room for you. The one with its own bathroom. Why? Nothing's wrong with the old room. This one's bigger. Has air conditioning. Lauren shot him a hard look. I didn't come back to be treated like a princess. I came back for Michael. I know, but... No buts. I want everything to be clear. Gabriel swallowed his reply and carried her things to the same small room as before. In the first days back, Lauren devoted herself entirely to Michael. The baby improved little by little. He ate, he smiled again, but he still got fussy whenever she stepped away from him. With Gabriel, conversation was kept to a minimum. Good morning, she said at breakfast. Good morning. How was the night? Normal. Did Michael sleep well? Yes. Gabriel tried to make more conversation, but Lauren kept her answers short and to the point. Mrs. Barnes, who knew them both well, noticed the tension. Girl, Mr. Gabriel's trying to be kind. I know, Celia, but he'll need a lot of patience. He made a huge mistake, and he's trying to fix it. Trying is easy. Trusting again is the hard part. A week later, Gabriel hired a private pediatrician to check on Michael at home. Gabriel, you don't need to do that, Lauren complained. The county hospital doctor is doing just fine. It's more convenient with a private doctor. Convenient for whom? The county hospital saved me when you threw me out. Gabriel had no answer for that. He deserved the criticism. That's when the first neighbor calls started coming in again. Gabriel, it's Marcia. I heard that girl came back to your house. She did, Marcia. Son, Do you think that's wise after everything that happened? Marcia, I found out she never did anything wrong. Adrian lied about everything. Lauren saved my son. Silence on the line. Well, if you're sure about that. Gabriel realized he would face judgment from people from now on, but he wouldn't give in to pressure this time. That night, as he was putting Michael to bed, he noticed Gabriel standing in the doorway. What? Nothing. Just, he looks so peaceful with you. We need to talk. About what? About what you expect to happen here. Gabriel sat down in the rocking chair. What do you mean? You brought me back because you discovered that Adrian lied. So what now? What do you want from me? I want you to take care of Michael. Just that? I think so. Lauren studied his face carefully. I'm not a toy that you pick up and drop whenever you feel like it. If you change your mind again, if someone comes whispering lies, I won't change my mind. How can I be sure of that? Gabriel didn't know how to make a promise after breaking her trust so completely. You can't be sure. You can only hope that I learn from my mistake. Yeah, and hope that we don't have to go through this nightmare again. The conversation ended there, but the message was crystal clear. 2 weeks later, after an upsetting phone call from Mark, Lauren's ex-husband, Gabriel reached his limit with all the gossip, judgmental looks, and whispered comments. He sat at his computer and wrote a long post on Facebook. I want to tell a story about how prejudice almost killed my son. Months ago, I fired my employee, Lauren North, because I believed lies about her. Lauren had lost her own baby in childbirth and was still producing breast milk. When my son Michael became very ill and was left alone, she fed him from her breast, saving his life. Some people told me she was taking advantage of me. I believed them without asking any questions. I fired Lauren cruelly, without giving her a reference letter, knowing she had no family or money. She spent weeks living on the street. She got sick and almost died of pneumonia. Meanwhile, my son was wasting away in a hospital, rejecting food and losing weight dangerously. I later discovered that our babysitter Adrian Silva had invented everything out of jealousy and was neglecting Michael while selling his medications. I searched for Lauren and found her sick under an overpass. In the hospital, the moment she held Michael, he smiled again. Lauren North is a hero. She lost her own child and saved mine. I almost killed my baby by listening to gossip. If you know Lauren, treat her with the respect she deserves. He posted it in the morning. Within hours, there were hundreds of shares. By evening, thousands of comments poured in. What an incredible woman. That's a mother's love right there. Gabriel, you messed up badly, but at least you owned it and fixed it. Adrian should be prosecuted. I want to meet Lauren and give her a hug. Negative comments appeared too. Gabriel's being manipulated again. Rich men always fall for a clever story. This is too perfectly told. I'm skeptical. A local TV station called. Mr. Ferris, would you do an interview? Only if Lauren wants to. Gabriel asked her, do you want to speak on TV? Tell your side of the story. What for? To show people who you really are. To clear your name. Lauren thought about it. I don't have to prove anything to anyone. I know, but it could help others in the same situation. Okay, but I speak for myself, not for you. On air, Lauren was simple and direct. I did what anyone would do. I saw a child in trouble and helped him. How did it feel to be falsely accused? Painful, especially because I truly love caring for that baby. What was living on the street like? Hard, very hard, but I met incredible people who helped me survive. Have you forgiven Mr. Ferris? Lauren looked at Gabriel in the studio. Forgiveness is a process. It doesn't happen overnight. Do you plan to marry him? No, Lauren answered firmly. Gabriel and I don't have that kind of relationship. Gabriel felt a bit embarrassed by her honesty. The program exploded on social media. Lauren received dozens of job offers, interview invitations, even book deal proposals. She declined them all. My place is taking care of Michael. Adrian watched the show at home and panicked. She tried to defend herself on Facebook. I was protecting the family. I thought she was dangerous. The comments were brutal. You nearly killed a baby. Liar. Hope you never get hired again. Adrian deleted all her social media accounts. No family in the wealthy neighborhood would hire her anymore. She struggled to find day jobs cleaning modest houses. The gossiping neighbors took a hit too. Marcia became a joke in the neighborhood chat groups. The nosy neighbor who nearly cost a baby his life. Not everyone changed their opinion. Some people still believe Gabriel was being deceived. That woman is clever. She got exactly what she wanted. Poor Gabriel. First he lost his wife. Now he'll lose his fortune. Gabriel realized there would always be people working against him. He didn't care anymore. 6 months after the TV interview, the mansion had found a new rhythm. Michael, now 14 months old, was a completely different child, healthy, alert, and loving. He called Lauren Mommy and Gabriel Daddy without any confusion. Gabriel changed his routine. He came home earlier, helped with bath time, and read bedtime stories. Lauren, let me put him to bed tonight. Do you know how to tell a story? I'm learning. Little by little, Lauren gave him more space. She could see that Gabriel truly wanted to be a present father, but their relationship remained complicated. Gabriel, I need to talk to you. What's up? I want to adopt Michael legally. Gabriel was surprised. Adopt him? Yes. I want to be his mother on paper. Lauren, everyone already sees you as his mother. Not legally. If something happens to you, or if you change your mind again, I could lose him. Gabriel understood her fear. Okay, let's figure out how to do it. The process was more complicated than they expected. The social worker asked many questions. What exactly is the relationship between you two? She takes care of my son, Gabriel said. Are you dating? Married? No, Lauren said firmly. We're partners in raising Michael. What if Mr. Ferris marries someone else? I remain Michael's mother, Gabriel answered without hesitation. The social worker scribbled notes, clearly puzzled by their unusual situation. After 3 months of paperwork and home visits, the adoption was approved. At the hearing, the judge asked, Ms. North, are you sure you want this responsibility? Yes, Your Honor. This boy is my life. And Mr. Ferris, do you agree to share custody? I do. Lauren is the mother Michael has always needed. Outside the courthouse with the papers in hand, Lauren cried, Now you're my son for real, Michael. On paper and in my heart. Gabriel teared up too. Now you're officially a family. The three of us are a family, Lauren corrected, including Gabriel for the first time. 3 months later, on a Sunday morning, Gabriel woke up to sounds in the next room. Mommy, ball, he heard Michael say. Gabriel found Lauren on the floor playing with him. Michael now walked confidently and said several words. Daddy, Michael said, spotting him, and ran into Gabriel's arms. Hey, champ. Gabriel smiled, kissing his son before Michael scampered back to Lauren. Mommy, Daddy here. Our boy, Lauren said. Mom and Dad are both here. Gabriel sat on the floor with them. It's good to wake up like this. It is, Lauren agreed, still keeping a bit of distance. Lauren, are you happy here? Truly happy. She looked at Michael playing between them. I'm happy with him. Very much so. And with me? How do you feel about me? Lauren took her time answering. Gabriel, you become a better person, more present, more human. Does that mean you've forgiven me? It means I'm trying. Forgiveness isn't easy. Do you think someday we could be more than just partners in raising Michael? She stopped playing and met his eyes. Let's take it slow, okay? Okay. We already have a good family as it is. Okay. Slow. Michael threw himself into Lauren's lap. Mommy, hungry. Breakfast time. Gabriel stood up and offered Lauren his hand. For the first time in a long while, she took it. In the kitchen, as they made breakfast together, they looked like a normal family. Not perfect, not without scars, but real. Gabriel, yeah. Thank you for letting me be his mother. Thank you for teaching me how to be a father. Michael banged his spoon on his high chair. Daddy, Mommy. Lauren smiled. Our crazy family. Gabriel laughed. Crazy, but it's our family. Outside, Adrian rode by on a bus heading to a cleaning job. She glanced toward the mansion and through the window saw the kitchen scene. Gabriel, Lauren, and Michael eating together like a real family. She shook her head and looked away. She had lost everything because of jealousy and lies. Marcia tried a few more times to call Gabriel, always with new stories about Lauren. Gabriel never answered her calls again. The gossiping neighbors learned not to interfere, at least not so openly. Inside the mansion, there was an imperfect peace, a family formed through pain, mistakes, and forgiveness. Michael grew up surrounded by love. Gabriel learned to be the father he always should have been. And Lauren found a happiness she thought she had lost forever. It wasn't a fairy tale ending. There were still scars, doubts, and fears. But it was a human ending, a real one. And sometimes that's better than perfection. The end. This is Mr. Hope. Thank you for watching. Please comment and like for more stories.